Well, hey there. My name is Leslie, and I have a small little art business called Luru Studios. So over on Instagram, I've had a few people asking me how I balance creating content for social media as well as having a 9-to-5 job. So before I start with my little tips and tricks that really help me, I think it's kind of important for you to understand sort of the lifestyle that I live or that I aim to live. I am not and never have been good at hustle culture or just hustling in general. I've tried so many times. I convinced myself that I had to hustle and be working 20 hours a day just to make things work because I heard all these amazing stories of people, starting from the bottom and, they worked until 4 a.m. making their dreams happen. And I felt like I had to do that. But anytime I tried, it just didn't work. And I ended up quitting every time. And I realized pretty early on, I'm not big into the whole hustle thing. I really, really like to just kind of enjoy moments and live a slow life. So if you're somebody that you do like to hustle and you like that go, go, go type of lifestyle, that is awesome. And I kind of wish I was a little more like that, but this video might not be as helpful. Hopefully you can get a few little tips and tricks that you can kind of implement into your life from this video, but So I just officially opened my online art shop in January, and along with social media and YouTube and commissions, I also work a regular 9-to-5 job as a graphic designer for school. It's just like a normal office job. I work at a desk in the office. I arrive at 8, I leave at 5. I'm required to dress nicely, so no jeans except for on Fridays. It's a typical Monday to Friday 40-hour schedule. I do get to be creative and use programs like Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign, and I've actually even introduced Procreate into the workflow. But just like most jobs we all have, by 5 p.m., the last thing I want to do is come home, sit at a desk for another couple of hours, and do more work, even if it is my own stuff that I love. I have a dog and a cat and Jacob that I haven't seen all day, and I want to be able to spend quality time with them. Plus, you have to fit in dinner and showering and getting stuff ready for work the next day. And if you have kids, that's a whole lot on your plate. Plus, you have to have time to take care of yourself. That's so extremely important. I used to be fooled into thinking that if I didn't stay up until 4 a.m. drawing and constantly grinding every moment that I get to work on my business, that I didn't want it badly enough. The whole hustle culture made me think that I was lazy and I didn't deserve my dreams because I wasn't working 20 hours a day to make them come true. Guys, don't be fooled. You can absolutely be passionate about your talents and dreams and still take time to sleep in when you need it or watch a movie with your family. So, step 1 to balancing a 9-to-5 and a side business or hobby, interest, whatever, is allowing yourself some grace. Forcing yourself to just go, go, go is a great way to lead to burnout. You've got to give yourself time to step away from it all. Sometimes that's when the best ideas or big picture moments come to us. But here's the catch. You need to be responsible. Giving yourself grace and accepting rest is vital, yes, but you need to know the difference between actually needing rest and self-sabotage, which I have been guilty of so many times I can't even count. Sometimes we're just trying to avoid work, even if it is something we are passionate about and it's something that we do love. We might just be avoiding it for a variety of reasons. So we convince ourselves that we need rest when really it's just self-sabotage and our minds not wanting to get out of our comfort zone. I would say get familiar with how those two things feel. If you're trying to binge watch a show on Netflix and claiming it's much needed rest, but there's something bothering you in the back of your mind or in your gut, and it's making you feel like you can't totally enjoy yourself, that's a good indication that you should probably just rip off the Band-Aid and get to work. Typically, when this happens to me, once I do start working on the drawings I've been avoiding or printing that I need to do, I start actually having fun doing it and getting the flow of things. It's just the sitting down and starting that's the hardest. But like I said, yes, sometimes we really do need rest. So if you're sitting there, you're binge watching Netflix, and you're having the time of your life, it's probably because you did need that rest, and it's good to take that time with yourself or with your loved ones or out in nature, just doing something that's not art related or whatever your hobby is, just getting out there and taking a break. Now, the biggest game changer for me is something so simple. And maybe you'll roll your eyes and you'll say, yeah, I've heard this before. Having a schedule written out on a calendar. I know it sounds so obvious, but let me actually show you what mine looks like. When I decided to get back into art after burning out and disappearing from social media last year, the very first thing I did was decide a posting schedule on Instagram. I feel like one of the things that really burned me out before was not having a plan, so I was just constantly winging it. And that works really well for some people, but not so much for me. I didn't know what kind of content to make, and I felt like every post had to be a new drawing, but that was becoming impossible to work into my schedule. And we all know Instagram likes to hide our profiles if we aren't posting practically every hour, so it just really wasn't sustainable. I first planned out what days I would post and decided Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. Now, I did some research online to see what days typically are best, especially when it comes to on art accounts. And I also looked at my analytics based on my actual audience, so like the people that follow me, to see on what days they are most active and at what times they're most active. So that kind of helped me determine Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. I post at about 11:05 on all 3 of those days, sometimes a little earlier, sometimes a little later. Then I put together a mock-up of what I would want my feed to look like. I really wanted it to all be cohesive and almost be like a piece of art in itself. So I came up with a pattern of every other post being drawing related, whether a photo of a drawing or a coloring process video. And then in between those, I would have videos like giving tips and tricks, quick little relatable things, or B-roll montages, even sometimes photos of myself. So once I knew the days that I would post and the pattern on my main page, I started plugging in what content each post would be. Since that allowed me to see everything ahead of time, I was able to figure out when I would need my next drawing finished by. It also helped me to plan out my other content and see when I would need to take a little more time on something like a tips and tricks video, or when I could put together something real quick like this. Knowing that I would be posting the following few weeks allowed me to schedule out when I would actually film or photograph or edit that content, which I typically do on Saturdays. Quick summary of everything I just said. Number 1, plan out what days you will post each week and what you want your social media page to look like. Do you want it to alternate content like me, or maybe you want to do rows of the same drawing but in different styles of content? Figure those 2 things out first. I actually made a mock-up of what I would want my Instagram to look like, and I plugged in like pictures that I found like on Pinterest and just like online of things that kind of looked like the color scheme that I was going for. If you look at my page, you can kind of start to see everything is very bright and vibrant. All of my videos that have me in them always have lots of different colored lights, so that kind of helped me keep a cohesive look no matter what content I'm putting out there. So when you're planning out the look of your page, maybe consider, do you want a color scheme? Do you want some kind of other theme that you can kind of always make your content look cohesive all together? Number 2, plug all of that into a calendar. I just use Notion because I can drag and drop things so easily. So if I have to change something around, it's super easy. Now you have a visual of your whole month ahead of you. Number 3, look at the post you've plugged in. Now work backwards and figure out when you'll need to actually get those things done, like completing a drawing, filming a video, making your edits, etc. All of that bleeds into my next tip, which is have a variety of content. Let me just say that this tip isn't necessarily for everybody. Some people's goal is for every single post to be a new piece of art, and that's freaking awesome. Like, do that. Just plan accordingly. But I will say that the thing that's given me the ability to post 3 times a week is having the variety. Otherwise, I'd probably burn out once again. At first, thinking up content is a little difficult. You really got to keep an open mind. But once you think up one idea, more and more will just start to pop up. And before you know it, possibilities will be endless. Something really important to keep in mind is that one single piece of art can go a really long way. I always get at least 2 posts out of each of my drawings, and sometimes more. I actually stretched this one here into 4 separate posts. I did a sketching reel that I sped up just to show the sketching process. I posted the final piece as a photo. I made a reel of the coloring process. And I did a silly little skit making a joke about how long it took to actually draw the fur jacket. So for each of your drawings, consider filming some of the process. Or is there something about it, like a fur jacket or some really cool effect that you can do a quick little tutorial of? There's a lot of different concepts you can get out of each piece of art you do, so don't feel like all you can do is just post a photo of it and then you have to crank out a whole nother drawing as soon as possible. If you want to venture out and also create content like showing yourself more, here are some ideas. Is there a tip, a trick, a technique that you wish you knew sooner that could really help someone out? Show us. Is there some strange habit you notice you do when you draw? Sometimes I start making the facial expressions of the face that I'm drawing. So you could do a quick little comedy skit like that. I mean, I know lots of people could relate to that. Or you could just grab your phone and film 10 seconds of yourself drawing and add a caption to it. You could introduce yourself, include a fun fact, add something inspiring. I feel like so often it's the videos that took me 5 seconds to make that get the most interactions. So not everything has to be a big, huge production. On that note, try to remember to pull out your phone and film as many little snippets of your day as you can. B-roll is so popular right now, and it's so easy to set up the camera and just get back to what you were doing. It gives people a quick little look into your life, and you can do a lot with it, like put all the clips together and make a fast montage that goes with music, or you can literally just post one little video with relaxing music over it, and you have a post. You can even post a picture of yourself now and then. People like to see who's behind the artwork. I'm slow when I make my art. I wish I could crank it out one after the other, but I tend to be way too lax sometimes, and I can be really bad about getting stuck on a really small detail, which just takes me longer. I tend to not be able to focus on a drawing for very long, so I have to kind of divide it out into chunks. So having a variety actually buys me more time to finish my drawings. The way that I have things scheduled, I actually only need to finish one drawing a week. Plus, it gives a personal look into my life and who I am, and it just makes things a little more interesting. I like having a few different things to work on that all come together. One thing you might want to consider is starting this whole process about a month before you actually post this new you on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, whatever you're using. I started planning out what my feed would look like and the scheduling things in October, but I didn't officially begin posting consistently with my new look until November. So when I started posting, I had November and December completely scheduled a month in advance. And then that way I was able to use October and part of November to kind of like stockpile some videos that I would film on the weekends and finish a few drawings just to get ahead and basically have a whole bunch of content already prepped. The thing is, I know myself pretty well and I know my weaknesses. I started off 2023 so pumped and dedicated to turning my art into a business, but I had no idea what I was actually doing. I tried filming a YouTube video last spring break. Y'all, even though there's hours of footage, there is nothing I can turn it into because I had no plan and no idea what I actually wanted to create. And that was pretty much how I was going about everything. So by April, I truly burned out. And then by May, I just disappeared from everything. I put my iPad in my room, deleted Instagram, and I just went about life kind of like a lost puppy. That makes me sad to think about a lost puppy. When I came back around to the whole art thing, I knew I had to approach it in a completely different way. So my last step or advice to share with you is to know your weaknesses. If I don't have something to guide me, I won't go anywhere. After experiencing not only the burnout, but then the disappointment I felt in myself for giving up on something I knew deep down that I loved, I became very aware of what led me to that point and what I needed to do this time to avoid that. Look back at all the times you started something and then quit. Look at the times you wanted to start something but never did. Why didn't you? What made you turn your back on it? Was it truly not meant for you, or did something just get in your way? Self-doubts, not knowing how to begin, not having enough discipline, or needing a better schedule or routine. What always leads you to burnout? Scrolling through Instagram and comparing yourself to others all the time, not trying out new things enough, not giving yourself enough rest in between, or convincing yourself you need rest more than you actually do. Look at the times in your life things didn't work and try to trace it back to something. Or just get to know yourself. Take note of your weaknesses and then try to figure out the steps you can take to work around your weaknesses. Also, remember, we all have them. It's not in any way a bad thing to have a weak spot. It makes us more interesting. I completely understand. It can be so frustrating. But once you become aware of them, it can actually be kind of fun to figure out ways to work around those obstacles. So for me, I knew if I tried going to this blindly again with no plan in place, I would eventually quit once again. So setting myself up for success by creating a schedule, it really helped me to set small goals each week, which ultimately are the steps towards my big goal. Please be nice to yourself. If you just go into things with the thought that you're going to try to set yourself up for success, you will be okay. I hope you were able to get something out of this. If you have any other questions on things like balancing life or how I make my art or whatever, make sure you leave a comment. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Love ya.